Hi, I'm Clemens, and in this video I will show you all there is to know about MapHider. MapHider is a program for a Windows computer that enables you to hide a map. Perhaps I should explain what exactly a map is. First of all, there are some synonyms that are also often used and have the exact same meaning. Instead of using the word map, we could also use directory or folder. Imagine that your hard disk is a tree and that all the files in this tree would be leaves. In that case, a map would be a branch that holds a group of leaves and sub-branches with each their own set of leaves. Everybody who has access to your computer can easily see and open any of these files. If we start MapHider, you will see a fading map to illustrate the capability of MapHider to hide a map. If you have seen this plenty of times, you can skip this by simply clicking the mouse button when the mouse is over MapHider or by simply pressing a key on the keyboard. There are many reasons why you might want to hide a map with files and submaps so that not just everybody has access to these files. You might hold a surprise party for your spouse. Students that share a computer probably do not want every other user to see his or her letters to family members. You want to be sure that your young children do not accidentally delete your text documents. And of course, everybody has got some files that are simply private. Is there a way to be absolutely sure that nobody is capable of accessing your private files? Unfortunately, no. If a top hacker, or for instance the NSA, would really like access to your personal files, and if they would be willing to spend some serious time into this, then I'm afraid that there is no way to be absolutely sure that they cannot get access. But having said that, we can surely make it difficult to perhaps even extremely difficult for them to get access to your files. Windows itself provides you with the opportunity to create users with passwords. Users cannot always get access to documents in the private maps of other users. However, this is all protected by just one password. Other users might see you typing it, or even guess it. And if you have created a different user to store some private material, then you have to change to this user each time that you want access. Also, it's quite conspicuous that there are, for instance, 3 users on a computer where only 2 people are using that computer. So in order to get some real protection, you will need a program that is capable of hiding maps and/or files. Topsys offers 4 kinds of programs that can be used to hide maps and/or files. And as a 5th program, we offer Email Icon Locker, a program that can be used to prevent other users from accessing your email by simply clicking a mouse button. MapHider is a program that lets you hide and unhide maps. In Windows, it is possible to make a map hidden. MapHider goes one step further. It hides your maps in a way that you cannot do it yourself manually. MapHider will hide and therefore prevent access to your private maps for people that happen to simply use your computer. MapHider offers no real protection against hackers. It simply hides your maps, and when using Windows Explorer, ordinary people will not see your hidden maps. Not just everybody is capable of making your hidden maps visible and accessible. However, with help from the internet, many would be. It is impossible to accidentally do something and by doing so gain access to your hidden maps. In order for someone to gain access, they really need to do some specific things that they will only do if they are really looking to find hidden content on your computer. If you are afraid that accessors could start searching your computer for your private files, then we recommend that you use one of our other programs, Folder Hider or File Hider. Folder Hider is our program that lets you hide your maps and really restrict access. Folder Hider uses 3 techniques. It hides your maps just as MapHider does. It blocks access for everybody to your map. And it also changes your map into a network map. so even if a hacker could break the blocking part, he or she would be diverted to the network map when trying to open your map. Some of our competitors also use a way to block access to your private maps. They do not use hiding and diverting. When using Windows Explorer, you may see that they displayed a lock next to the protected map. We thought it best not to do this. We know that experienced users can make our hidden maps visible, but even although they are visible, they cannot get access. And we think this is better than displaying a lock which shouts to the potential hacker, "Pick me, pick me." After all, a lock clearly states, here is something hidden and worth hacking. Again, we want to make clear that even although an experienced user may be able to show the maps we have hidden, this is not a normal state for a computer. Someone will only put a computer in that state when he or she has decided to do some digging on your computer. And last but not least, Folder Hider also has the capability to encrypt files. As it is rumored that the NSA has cracked AES, or at least has a backdoor, we use more than just AES to encrypt these files. The third program we have is Directory Hider. Directory Hider is a simplified version of MapHider and it is free. As it is free, it has some constraints. There is just one user. The benefit is that you do not need to log in. The downside is that you cannot have multiple users and so you do not have deniability. There's a maximum of a total number of 10 hidden maps. There is no limit to times that you hide or unhide a map. Each map may only hold a maximum of 10 files. Of course, you may use a compression tool to increase this number of files. It is possible to use MapHider and unhide maps created with Folder Hider and vice versa. It is a matter of creating a user with the correct logon credentials. Directory Hider does not have this ability. Also, some extra options like micromize are not present in Directory Hider. The fourth program we have is File Hider. File Hider uses one phony file and you can add one or more files to this file. The files that are added are all encrypted using our own algorithm, and they are invisible even to the experienced users. The only giveaway might be that the text file containing just a few words happens to be very large. This program offers perhaps the best protection. The downside is that if you want to use these files, then that will cost considerable more time. MapHider and Folder Hider can hide thousands of files in a single map within perhaps a tenth of a second. File Hider has to decrypt each and every file, and afterwards it will have to encrypt them if you made some changes. We think File Hider is better suited for people that just want to hide or perhaps transport a couple of files. Besides these programs, we have some special editions and special versions. For instance, for programmers that want to use a hidden map to store the installation date of their program, etc. Okay, let's continue with MapHider. When you start MapHider, it will open with the default user. The default user, however, cannot hide or unhide a map. So the first thing we need to do is to log in as a user. And as this is the first time that we use MapHider, we need to create a user. When you create a user, you must realize that the capitalization of the username is important. User John with a capital J and user John with a capital J and a capital N at the back are two different users. In this way, phishing username and password has become much more difficult. But it also gives you what is called deniability. You might show a certain person maps that you have hidden as John with just a capital J and not show them the maps that you have hidden as John with two capitals. To create a user, we go to the menu and choose Users, followed by Add User. We can now add a user. Let's name him John with one capital. Password TIMPW4MH exclamation mark. When you choose a password, make sure that you can remember it. But you must also be sure that it is not easy for others to guess. So don't use any passwords that apparently are most often used, like names of family members, any dates that are important to you, and especially don't use the first 6 letters of the keyboard, which in many cases would be QWERTY or AZERTY. And the most common password seems to be 1234. Passwords that are hard to crack are called strong passwords, and they hold at least one number and at least one character that isn't a number or a letter. But how can it be easy to remember a strong password? If you take a sentence and use a letter for each word, then TIMPW4MH exclamation mark stands for "This is my password for MapHider exclamation mark." And now the password TIMPW4MH exclamation mark is a lot easier to remember. Of course, you must realize that after having seen this, 75% of all MapHider users might now use this password. But I have given you a way to easily create your own strong password that you can remember. And here we retype the password and make sure it is identical. For us to be sure that you can still get access to the maps that you hide, we give you quite some opportunities to regain access if you lose any of your logon credentials, like the username and or password. The first protection is the 6-digit security access number. Should you forget your password, you may enter this 6-digit number. Once you entered the correct username and this 6-digit number, then you will be presented with 3 questions that must be answered. Both the question and the answers are entered in this screen. As a 6-digit number, I will use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a number you should never use. Question 1, I will ask for my name. The answer should be Clemens. At the second question, I will ask my favorite car. And the answer should be Rolls-Royce. The model isn't important, any will do. At the last question, I will enter a trick question. I will ask for my favorite color. And the answer should be tomato. It is obvious for any human that although a tomato has a specific color, it is not a color. But the computer does not look for realism. It's that you enter whatever you specified as the answer for that question. You may enter as questioned and answers whatever you like, but we recommend that you do it in a way so that you will know what to enter when the question gets asked. As we are done in this screen, I will press the OK button. But before I do so, I should explain the other buttons. If I made a mistake and would like all the fields to be wiped clean, I could press this Clear button. If I changed my mind and do not want to add a user and want to go back to the main screen, I can press the Back button. But everything is okay, so I will now press the OK button. If everything was entered correctly, then we will now get a message that we urge you to make use of the provided recover options and that you should enter a valid email address. I press the OK button and at this point the recover option screen is opened. I will enter my email address info@maphider.com and I will retype it here as well. Entering an email address is mandatory, so you must at least enter a valid email address. This email address is not stored or sent to one of our databases, so you don't have to worry about us sending you junk email or selling your email address. The email address you enter here will only be used to send you your own logon credentials. You may choose what data needs to be provided before the system will resend the logon credentials to the email address provided here. We would advise you to keep it as it is. You may make it harder by also asking for the 6-digit security question or the password. But the more you ask, the harder it becomes when you forget something. At this point I will select checking part of the username. But by not selecting password or 6-digit security question, only the email address and the name without mining capitalization have to be provided in order to send the login credentials to the email address I specified here. If we press save, 2 messages will pop up. The first states that an email with our logon credentials was sent to the email address we just provided. You should keep that email in a safe place. And the second message asks if we want a screen where all logon credentials are displayed so that we can copy and paste it into a text file which you might store somewhere. If we choose yes, a next pop-up will ask if we want the password to be readable or not. But for now, we will assume that the email will arrive and that we can access that at a later stage should we need to. So right now we will choose no. And back to go to the main screen. I will now quickly add a second user. So I go to Users, Add User, John, with 2 capitals is the new username. I will again use TIMPW4MH exclamation mark as the password, so I have to type it here and here. Again, I will use the numbers 1 through 6 as my 6-digit security question access number. Question 1 is the letter A, the answer would be the letter B. Question 2, the letter C. Answer 2 would be the letter D. Question 3 would be the E. And finally, the answer, let's make it a 3. Of course you understand that this is an example that is not very safe. We press OK. And OK. For the email I will again enter twice info@maphider.com, info@maphider.com, save. OK, no, and back. And we are in the main menu again. When you have added a user, it is important to know that you are not automatically logged in as the user just created. You can see this because the username is still the default user. After having added this second user, I just realized that I made it too easy for a potential hacker. So I want to make changes to this user. In the menu I choose Users, Edit User, and as I am not logged in as any user, I get the error message saying that I should log in as the user I want to change. So first I need to log in as the user I want to change. In the main menu I choose Users, Login User, Let's test that the username is case sensitive. As user, I enter John without capitals. And as the password, I enter TIW4MP exclamation mark, which is the password for both users. I now get the error message stating that my login credentials are not correct, and as a penalty, after pressing OK, I will go to an empty screen and I can only continue after 5 seconds. As I'm quite impatient, I click the continue button. But nothing happens. Only when I have waited the penalty time, I can press the continue button. I can see that the time is passed when the button changes color when I move my mouse over the button. When you make a mistake and accidentally get to this screen, that will be annoying. But you must realize that this is for your protection. Without this, a person could try many combinations in a short while. But as each error increases the penalty time with 1 second, fishing for username and password by simply trying is now no longer a real option. I press the continue button, and this time I get back to my login screen. I now enter John with 2 capitals. The password is still in the text box and I press login. I go back to the main screen and I can see my username John in all capitals. If I would have had some numbers in my name, these would have been removed. This is all to ensure that your username is not already given away to someone who happens to look at your screen. If I now go to Users, Edit User, I go to the Edit User screen, but first a pop-up shows a message stating that you cannot change your username and/or password and/or 6-digit security question access number. Why is that, you may ask? The reason is simple. When you create a hidden map on a hard disk or USB stick, then a hidden and secured map is created on that drive. In this map, your login credentials are stored. We have to do this because you can now take out the drive or USB stick, put it in a different computer, install MapHider, create the same user, and you can again unhide your maps. If we didn't create such a hidden map, then you could change your username, password and 6-digit security access number, but then you wouldn't be able to unhide your maps on a different computer. Should you still feel the need to make changes to either the username, password and/or the 6-digit security access number, then you should first unhide all the maps hidden by this user, and after that you should create a new user and hide all the maps you want hidden using this new user account. As this can be quite laborsome, we would advise you not to do this unless you would fear or know that your login credentials are compromised. By the way, should you after some time realize that you have forgotten to unhide a certain map, then you can still log in under the old user account. So let's make some changes. If I would try to change any of the fields I shouldn't change, I can immediately see that I simply cannot make any changes here. Trying to add a few letters to the username will simply not work. So I go to question 1 and let's ask for my favorite pizza. And the answer should of course be Hawaii. Then my mother's name, answer Leonora. Then a trick question. First job? And the answer would be none. I have always been self-employed. Now I press OK. We now get the opportunity to change the email address, but as this hasn't changed, I press Save. And we see a pop-up saying that the changes were saved and the login credentials were sent. Again, we get a pop-up giving us the chance to copy and paste the login credentials. The changes we just made are also emailed to the email address I entered, but this time I will want to print my login credentials, so I choose Yes. I can now choose if I want the password to be readable or not. As I have chosen a password I can remember and I could always look it up in my email, I will choose No. I select all the text either by mouse or by pressing Ctrl A. Then Ctrl C to copy. I open Notepad. Let's move it to the screen that we record. I press Ctrl V and I can now print and or save the text. If I now press back, I will go back to the main screen. Before we start hiding a map, I want to show you how to log out and dive a bit deeper into logging in. To log out, you simply go to Users, Logout User. The username is now again the default user, and should the main screen have contained some hidden maps, then these are now cleared. So before we can hide a map, we need to log in as a user. In the main menu, we choose Users, Login, User. Before I enter my login credentials, I realized that I have forgotten my password. Luckily, I did not forget the username. Should I have forgotten the username, then I must look this up in either my email, or if I printed it out or saved it somewhere, then I must look it up. Before I can enter my 6-digit security access number, I must enter my correct username. So I enter John with 1 capital. And then I press the I lost my password button. I press OK. It will now let me enter my 6-digit security access number. So I enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and press OK. As the answers to the questions, I enter Clemens, Rolls Royce, tomato, and press OK. The computer will now show a pop-up with my password, and it will ask me to remember it for future use. I press OK and I'm logged in. Once I'm logged in, I can start hiding maps. To hide a map, I press the middle button. I select Computer, Local Disk and Temp as the map I want to hide. I press OK, and if I wait a bit, I will see that the chosen map is now added to my list of hidden maps. To hide a second map, I press the middle button, Computer, Local Disk C. I can now already see that temp is no longer visible as I simply do not see it. But now I select Test as the second map to hide and press OK. I will now log out and again log in as the same user. If we now take a look at the list of hidden maps, we can see that the list is empty. Where are the maps that we have just hidden? The program does not keep an internal list somewhere of which maps you have hidden and unhidden. As you can use drives across multiple computers, there is simply no way of presenting you with a list of all your hidden maps. In order to see which maps are hidden by you on a certain drive, you click on the left button at the bottom. Wait a moment and the system will display all your drives on which you could hide a map. If you forgot to plug in a USB drive, plug it in, wait until it is recognized and press the button Rescan for available drives. Select the drive that you want to see that contains your hidden maps. So C in this example. And press Scan Selected Drive for My Hidden Maps. Now see the temp and test map on the C drive. When hiding a map, it is important to know that you cannot simply hide just any map. There are maps used by Windows, like My Documents, Program Files, Users, and Windows. To protect you from yourself, we cannot allow you to hide any of these maps or any of the submaps inside these maps. So, if I press the Hide Map button, select a map ABC inside the My Documents map, and press OK, I see an error message that states that I selected a map that is essential to Windows or is inside a map that is essential to Windows. This message may also occur if there are many submaps and or files with very long names inside the map you wish to hide. In theory, this map ABC could be hidden as it is not really an essential Windows map itself. But as it is inside an essential Windows map, we simply cannot take any chances and you may not hide this map. How would you continue in such a case? Open Windows Explorer, select the ABC map with the left mouse button and press the right mouse button and select Cut. Go to the root of the drive that contains this map and click the left mouse button. Go to the right part of the screen and click the right mouse button and select Paste. If I now press the Hide button and select the ABC map in its current position, I can hide the map without an error. When you relocate a map like this, you must realize that some programs that think that certain files are still located in the old place will mention that some files are not found. In most cases, you may select the new location where these files may be found. If this does not work, or if you encounter any problems, then you should relocate the map back to its old position after unhiding. For example, inside the ABC map is a Word document called Test. If I open Word and see my recently opened file list, I can see that it expects the file to be in the ABC map of the My Documents map. Selecting this document will give me a File Not Found error. So I go back to MapHider and unhide my ABC map. I open Word and open the file manually by going to the new location of the ABC map. I close Word, and in MapHider I will extract the ABC map. I now go back to Word, and in my recently opened file list I see the test document, and this time the ABC map is at the correct location. The map is hidden, but Word does not know this or check for this. I double-click the file, and even although the map is hidden and although Windows Explorer cannot see it, it can still be opened by Word because it knows its location. If, however, I would try to open it manually, that would be a problem because, as you see here, no ABC map is visible. Word can still open this file as it knows where it can find the file. If I want to open it manually from Word, then I have the problem that I cannot see the ABC map. So as you can see, it is important to know that MapHider does not lock a map. Programs that use a recently used file list can still open the file as they know its location. If you want the map not only to be hidden but locked as well, so that someone cannot open your file through a recently used file list, then you should consider using our program FolderHider. To unhide a map, select the map you wish to unhide from the list and press the Unhide button. We just looked up our hidden maps in the C drive and we will unhide the temp map. Let us first see that the map is indeed hidden. I will open up Windows Explorer and drag the screen so that you can see it. As you can see, there is no temp map. Back to MapHider. I select the temp map and press the Unhide Selected Map button. Instantly, the temp map is removed from the list. We now go back to Windows Explorer and in the time it took us to do this, we can see that the temp map on the C drive is now again visible and ready to be used. And that is basically all there is to it. It is that easy to hide and unhide maps on your drives. In the main menu under Help, there are the following items: Q&A, short for question and answer, View Help, Read subtitles as help, Buy license, Compare editions, and Info about. If I click on the Q&A in the Help menu, you will see a text screen with questions and answers about MapHider. No matter what language you have chosen, this text is in English. As this video and this Q&A text together is your user manual, we thought it best to keep both in English. The video may have subtitles in a different language, but it's still spoken in English. By not translating all of this and keeping it in English, we can be sure that your manual is correct. And therefore, when you want to consult either of these as the manual of this program, you should do so in English. I mention this because someone might make alterations and also the translations in the subtitles of the video could be incorrect. Below Index there is a list of all items or questions. Suppose I would like to know why the username is K. I place my mouse somewhere on that line. Click my left mouse button and now the cursor is somewhere on that line. To move the screen to the item I want to read, I have three options. I can press the function key F4 like this and press the function key F5 to go back up again. Or again, after placing the cursor on a line, I can go to that item by pressing the Search Selected Index Item button with F4 and the index map. And I can go up again by pressing the Move to Top button with F5 and the arrow pointing up. If I want to search for a word, I can enter that in the text field and press F3. Or the Search button with F3 and a magnifying glass. Suppose I want to know something about translation. Perhaps I want to make a change in the translation. I press the function key F5 to make sure I'm all the way on top. In the text field I enter translation. And I press the function key F3. Each time I press the F3 key, the system will search towards the bottom of the text for a new occurrence of the word translation. If I search for this a number of times, I see a message indicating that in the part of the text between the end and where my cursor is now, this text can no longer be found. When I'm finished with this, I can press the back button to go back to the main screen. If I press View Help from View, I can see that a video player opens up and it will start this help video. The subtitles will be in the language I chose in MapHider. If I open up the menu by pressing the arrow down, I can search for chapters or words in any of the over 60 translated languages. If I want to see a video showing me all there is to know about the video help player, I can press this button and select helpvideo.avi. For now I will close the video help player. MapHider comes with a 30-day trial period. If you want to keep hiding maps with MapHider after these 30 days, then you must purchase a license. If you click Buy License from the Help menu, a page with a link to the MapHider website will appear. If you click that link, then it will open up the MapHider website where you can buy a license. Before you can buy a license, you will need to register to the MapHider website, and after having bought the license, you will need to register the license. This is all thoroughly explained in the Register section. For now, I will just press the back button to go back to the main menu. If I want to see the most common differences between MapHider and FolderHider, I can press Compare Editions in the Help menu. Most of the differences are mentioned here. Some small differences, like the fact that making changes to the font is stored in FolderHider and is not stored in MapHider, is not mentioned. There are two differences that are the most important. First, FolderHider has a much higher level of security. And second, only FolderHider has the ability to hide and lock maps on the drive. So, if you have a Windows server and you do not want all employees to have the ability to open company files, like an Excel sheet with all salaries, then you need FolderHider. Within 30 days of purchase, you can upgrade from MapHider to FolderHider and you only pay the price difference. And again, I press the back button to go back to the main screen. If I press the Info About in the Help menu, I see a pop-up with the Topsys logo and a link to the Topsys company website. To close this screen, I can simply press the OK button. In the main menu under File, there are the following items: Exit, Configuration, Recover, Check for Update, Translation Correction, Micromize Application, Main Screen. If you want to exit the application, you can choose Close in the red box, or you can choose Exit from the File menu. If you want to exit MapHider but want to start it up later again, then you might take a look at Micromize. The configuration option in the File menu has the following options: Language, Backup Configuration File, Restore Backup Configuration File, Reset Configuration File, Font Selection, Reset Font and Registration. If you select Language from the configuration menu in the File menu, you can select a language for this program. I can select Chinese and press the Choose Language button. Immediately, all words and sentences are now in Chinese. Let us pretend that I can read Chinese. I will open up the File menu, Configuration, Language, and I will now again choose English as our language and press the Choose Language button. MapHider has an internal configuration file. You might make a backup so that at some point you may restore this when there is a problem. When you added a new user, it might be wise to make a backup of your configuration file. And you can do so by choosing File, Configuration, Backup Configuration File. When you encounter a problem with the internal configuration file, this could be due to a read error on your hard drive. You might consider restoring a backup of the configuration file that you made at some point. In order to do so, you go to File, Configuration, Restore Backup Configuration File. When restoring the backup configuration file does not fix your problem, you might try a reset. After resetting the configuration file, the system will try to add your existing users to this new configuration file. You can do so by choosing File, Configuration, Reset Configuration File. MapHider lets you adjust the font size and font type. We thought it necessary because in some languages the signs get so small that another font or a bigger font will make it better readable. But of course, you may just choose a larger font to make the text as it is more readable to you. Contrary to Folder Hider, MapHider will not remember the font type and or font size you chose after you close the program. But it's very easy to change a font. In the configuration menu inside the File menu, choose Font Selection. You may choose almost anything you want. If it becomes too small to read for anybody, or if it becomes much too big, the system will automatically reset the font size. The system does some checking to see if not all buttons get and start overlapping. But this test is not perfect. You may choose a certain font and size where buttons overlap a little or one side of the button is no longer displayed. And although you may perhaps prefer larger text over aesthetic, we would like to ask you not to choose a font size that is too big. Let's see the font selection in action. I choose size 12. Okay, you see that here everything gets bigger. Choosing a font size that in retrospect is too large is never a real problem. If you quit the program and restart, the font is back in its original state. But instead of restarting the program, you may also choose Reset Font in the configuration menu inside the File menu. And you see, everything is back in its original size. MapHider has a 30-day trial period. During this trial period, all functions are enabled. If you haven't registered after 30 days, you will not be able to hide a new map. You will, however, still be able to unhide any maps you made hidden with MapHider. Should you want to know the number of trial days left, then you can simply click on Info About in the Help menu and you can see down in the right corner the number of trial days left. If you want to keep using MapHider after the trial period, then you need to register. In order to register, you need to go to the MapHider.com website. Start by registering yourself on this website. When you registered on the website, you should receive an email with the link. I press the register button next to the login button. There is some text about creating a new account for this website, which you should read when you create an account. Should you have created an account at another of our Topsys websites, then you may skip the website account creation as you have one account for all our products. I enter a username and enter the same password twice. Enter my email address. To be sure that you are human, we use CAPTCHA that asks you to enter 1 or 2 words. And if you can't read it, like this here, simply press here. And now I press the button I register and agree with the terms. An email will be sent to the email account I just entered. So if I wait a while, usually this shouldn't take long, I will receive an email with the link to continue the registration to the website. The website will show the text that an email was sent to your account. So I open up my email account and there we have the email. I click on the activation link. I am now back in the website and now I can log on to the website. The website will mention that the confirmation was a success. So I press the login button and enter my username and password. I can see over here that I'm actually logged in. On the home page, I can see the price for one license, and you will need one license per computer. The price of a license depends on where and whether you are a person or a company. As I live in the Netherlands, which is part of the EU, the website will now present a price including VAT, and so the VAT is added to the price. If you or your company live outside the EU, then we do not have to calculate the VAT and the price will be without VAT. If your company is in the EU but outside the Netherlands, then we also do not have to calculate VAT. If this is the case, then you can later on enter your VAT number by using the Settings menu. The website will determine the country that you are in and it will check that you are not behind a proxy. A proxy could be used to pretend that you are somewhere else. If the website has any doubts, it will calculate the VAT. All the way at the bottom, below the colored eye catcher, you will see if the website will calculate the VAT based on your location. As I am using the internet from within the Netherlands, it will. As you can see here, it will state a price including VAT. If I would have been, for instance, in China, then it would have mentioned this price, and there would be no mention of VAT. But what if I were a company within the EU but outside the Netherlands? If that is the case, you should make some changes to your user profile before you make the payment. You can alter your user profile or user preferences, however you would like to call it, in the Settings menu. We would advise you to take a look there anyway. I click on Settings, and now I could let Topsys know that I do not want any commercial emails at all. Or if I wanted help unhiding a map, I could flip the option over here. And I would also need to provide a code word over here. Also, I can see some info about my visits. So I can check if perhaps someone else logged onto the website with my credentials. The website IP numbers at the right side over here. But as it is unwise to let everybody know your IP address, I will keep this part out of sight. On the personal info page, you can enter address, city, postal code, country, etc. and the name you want on the invoice. The company info page is of course the page we need. Basically it's the same page as the personal info page. However, at the bottom there's a text field, VAT number. When you enter a VAT number, the website will check of course the validity of the VAT number. The name on the invoice should match with the name that the EU has for your company, and your current IP number should also be from the same country as where your company resides. Or to put it simply, you should now be in the same country as where your company resides. You only need to enter a VAT number if your company is buying from this website and if that company resides within the EU and outside the Netherlands. So companies outside the EU can skip this. I will now purchase 3 licenses. I simply click on 3 licenses and click on the Pay button. As soon as the payment has been concluded, the license and invoice will be available on the website. In order to register MapHider, I must enter the registration code from one of my licenses. Each license can only be used once, so I need 1 license per computer. If you have multiple versions of Windows set up on one computer, then you can use 1 license for all of them, provided they are all Windows Vista or higher. There are 3 ways I can view my license registration keys. Just to be clear, a license registration number or code is the same as a license registration key. In the website, I open up Invoices and select Last Invoice. I click on Open. I can now open or save my invoice as a PDF. As you can see on the PDF, the license registration keys are stated here. Or I can go to Licenses. I will now see all licenses for all Topsys programs that I have. As I purchased 3 licenses, there are 3 registration keys listed here. As none of these 3 licenses have been activated, it doesn't matter which I choose. So I can select with the left mouse button the entire registration key, click the right mouse button and select Copy. Or I click on Open. I can now see the software name, license number, invoice date, the unique PC code, on which PC the software is activated, and I can see until when I can download and install any updates. If there is no unique PC code, then that means that this registration key is free. So I select the entire license number with the left mouse button and now click on the right mouse button and select Copy. As a third option, I can check my email. The license registration keys will be emailed to me. I open up my email and see here are the license registration keys. Again, with the left mouse button, I select the key, right mouse button, and I click on Copy. Sending emails can go quite fast these days, but the time it takes for you to receive the email depends on the number of factors. As the license registration keys are instantly accessible after payment, you might decide not to wait for the email. I will start MapHider. Go to File, configuration, registration, and in the text block, right mouse button and select paste. After that, I click on register. And that is all there is to it. I can check that the registration went well by clicking on the info about in the help menu. As you can see, it no longer shows the number of trial days. Another way is to click on registration. This time I cannot enter the registration code, but it will show me the registration code. And as a third option, I can go to the website, go to licenses, and I can already see that the unique PC code is stated here. I can also click on open. So this time there is a unique PC code. And if I want to verify this PC code, then I can simply go to File, Configuration, Show Unique PC Code. And here I have the same code. I will now go back to the main screen. As mentioned, MapHider and Directory Hider are designed so that a befriended person can use your computer without unintendedly seeing your private documents, assuming these documents are in a map which you made hidden. MapHider and Directory Hider will hide a map for you, but they will not restrict access to that map. For that you will need Folder Hider. There are two weaknesses in the protection scheme of MapHider and Directory Hider. 1. As mentioned before, a person who is really searching your computer for your private files can make changes in Windows that will give him or her access to your hidden maps. But these settings cannot be set in this way by accident. They will only be set like this if someone decided to do some serious digging. 2. Recently opened file lists. The maps that hold your private files can be set hidden, but they still can be accessed. Only also restricts access to these maps. When using MapHider or Directory Hider, access is still possible. A recently opened file list tells a program exactly where a certain file is, and it can be opened regardless if the map is set hidden or not. Of course, there are some things that you can do. You can name your files in a not so obvious way. If a file is called Mom's Birthday, then that name does give a clue as to what the document is about. If you use your favorite search engine, then you can search how to clear the recently opened file list for the program that you are using. Of course, if a befriended person is using your computer and if you are using names for your private documents that do not raise eyebrows, then you should be able to trust a befriended person not to open private files. If, however, you want to be sure and want to use a higher level of security, then you should use Folder Hider. Within 30 days after purchase, you may upgrade to Folder Hider and you only pay the price difference. Using the Best Friends Forever program, you can increase the upgrade period of your version of MapHider and that of your friends by 6 months. If you have a friend that may be interested in MapHider, log on to the MapHider website and simply send him an email using the BFF program. In the home page you will find the Mail a Friend button. If I click that button, the BFF program page opens. I can see my license number that will be used, my email address, and the BFF code for my friend. Some rules that basically state that I cannot use it for myself, that my friend has to buy a license using this BFF code. My friend will receive an email with this text. If I want this text to be in a different language, then I can select a different language before I press the send button. I will enter a personal message. And the email address of my friend. And I press send. If my friend actually buys a version of MapHider, then he simply buys a license, just as we have shown you earlier in this video. And when he is asked to press the pay button, then down here at the right side, there's the text box where I can enter the BFF code. I open up the email and using copy and paste, I copy the code. You could actually copy the entire line, but it is best to just copy the code. If I now press the pay button, the upgrade period is extended by 6 months. Should I make a mistake and not copy the entire code or a wrong code, then there will be no message and my upgrade period is not extended. If we would give an error message, then that would invite some people to keep trying and trying some random code in the hope that they would get lucky, which by itself would be of no use because each code is linked to an email address. Should you by accident write code or perhaps forget to paste the code at this time, simply send us an email. If you are entitled to an extended period, we will correct this. So, I entered the BFF code and my upgrade period is now 18 months instead of 12 months. My friend that has sent me this email now receives an email stating that his upgrade period has now also been extended by 6 months. Should the upgrade period of my friend be over, then he is lucky, because in that case his upgrade period is 6 months starting from the time I made the purchase. As you know, we have a comprehensive indexed and searchable help video. This video is perfect if you have no or little experience on the matter. Of course, you can also use the video if you want a quick reminder of how something works. But we can understand that if you want to refresh your memory on a subject, that a quick peek in a manual can be a faster way to do this. So we created a manual out of all subtitles. As you can see, I can change the language. But I will put it back to English again. It's a bit strange that the manual starts with "Hi, I'm Clemens," and somewhere there might be a line like "If you press this button." But besides that, it will tell you exactly how the program MapHider works. Down here in the text box, you can search for a word or sentence like map. And press the F3 or magnifier button to search for the next occurrence. And if I press the F5 or the button with the arrow, I will go back to the top of the text. I will press the back button to go back to the menu. When I select the recover option from the file menu, I will be able to resend all login credentials to the email address I provided. When creating my users, I did not specify any extra information to be supplied. So in the screen I enter the username and I do not care about capitalization. And I enter info@maphider.com as the email address. And I press resend login credentials. And as I can see, 2 emails were sent to me. This would be John with the capital J and John with capital J, capital N. If you select Check for Update from the File menu, you will see after a little while a pop-up that says that you are using the latest version of MapHider or that a newer version is available on our website. As we are up to date, I press the OK to close the pop-up. MapHider comes with the ability to change the language of the program. There are over 60 languages to choose from. However, most of these languages are computer generated and these translations may be poor and incorrect. So you might ask, why did we include all these languages? Of course, one obvious reason is that people that do not understand English are better off with a poor translation than with no translation at all. But we hope that in due course almost all translations will be translations that are corrected by humans. And those translations will be pretty good. So we made it very easy for anybody to make changes in any of our translations. If you notice that is incorrect, you could start up translation correction from the File menu and make changes to a translation. Search for the phrase. Make the change. Press OK. And press Save. If you want a full video explaining translation correction, you can press this button. We go back to MapHider. It may appear that nothing has changed yet, but in order to load our new translations, we need to close the program and restart it. And as you can see, we have just changed a translation. Translation correction lets you see all our translated sentences in a chosen language together with the original English sentences, or a different language that is corrected by a human. In this way, you could go through all translations in your language quite fast and make changes where you would like. We think that quite some people will share these corrected languages through our website, and then it is just a matter of downloading a language file. Inserting a downloaded language file or getting a language file to upload to our website are things that can be done with translation correction. Translation correction has its own help video and we encourage you to watch it. Sometimes you want it not to be obvious that you are using an application. If you have an icon on the desktop called MapHider, then someone might wonder what it is that you have to hide. So we can imagine that you do not want a MapHider shortcut on your desktop. But how can you start MapHider without an icon on the desktop? Open up Windows Explorer. Click on the C drive and look for a map, Program Files or Program Files x86. In almost all cases, these maps will be located on your C drive. I will open up the Program Files x86 and I will see if there's a map named Topsys. There it is. If the Topsys map was not located in the program's x86 map, try then the Program Files map. In most cases, when you do not have a 64-bit version of Windows installed, you will not have a map Program Files x86, and then it will be in the Program Files map. But as this is a 64-bit version, I have to go to the Program Files x86 map. I will open up the MapHider folder and there should be an executable MapHider. There it is. This is the file MapHider.exe and it is of the type application. In the way you set up Windows, it might be that the .exe is not visible. If you want it to be visible, you could ask your favorite search engine how to do this in your version of Windows. In Windows 7, open up Control Panel, Appearance and Personalization, Folder Options, go to the tab View and uncheck Hide extensions for known file types. So this one should not be checked. There's no harm in this, and actually it can be quite convenient. Okay, we are back to Windows Explorer. And if we double click MapHider, it would start up. But as it is already started, I don't have to do this. It is not really hard to start MapHider like this, but if you would need to do this multiple times in a day, then it becomes troublesome. It would be nice if you could limit this to only one time. And with micromize you can. To hide a regular application, you can press minimize and the application is no longer visible on the screen itself. But it is now on the Windows taskbar, most commonly suited here below. I can't drag it up unfortunately. But I will double click it and there it is again. So this is not a very good way of hiding my application. Windows keeps track of all programs that are running. I can show you by pressing Ctrl-Alt-Del and press Task Manager. In Task Manager I can see that MapHider is running. I now select Micromize from the File menu. And if I go back to the Task Manager, I can now see that MapHider is no longer actually running. And indeed, MapHider is closed. A different program called Boathook, which is small in size and small in every aspect, is loaded and active on the far left side of your screen. Should you have multiple screens, then it is on the left side of your main screen. It is 1 pixel in width. Is transparent, so it's close to impossible to see. When your mouse cannot go further left and it is not on a location where Windows 8 has some functions, which is at the top or bottom, you can double click the mouse button. If you double click the mouse button with the left mouse button, MapHider will start up and Boathook will remain active. When MapHider was started up, I can see that I was automatically logged out as a user, and if I wanted to hide or unhide a map, I would have to log in as a user. If I select Micromize from the Help menu again, there will be a message stating that Boathook is already loaded. MapHider is closed and I can press OK to remove the message. I will again go to the far left side of the screen. I choose a spot somewhere in the middle and I double click with the middle mouse button. Now Boathook will show its version number in a pop-up. I press OK and go back to the left side, and this time I double click with the left mouse button. When MapHider has started up, I can now choose Close to simply exit the application. I move the mouse again to the left side of my screen, but this time I use the right mouse button to double click. If you double click the right mouse button, MapHider will start up, but Boathook will no longer remain active, and you can no longer start MapHider by just double clicking on the left side of your monitor. So if you leave your computer unattended for a while, you could choose Micromize from the File menu. Doing so makes restarting MapHider very easy. Whenever we choose Main Screen from the File menu, we go back to the main screen. If I select File Recover from the main screen, screen is opened. And now I go back to the main screen by selecting Main Screen from the File menu. As mentioned before, MapHider is not our most secure software. Not just everybody is capable of making your hidden maps accessible, however, with the help from the internet, many would be able. It is impossible to accidentally do something and by doing so gain access to your hidden maps. In order for someone to gain access, they really need to do some specific things that they will only do if they are really looking to find hidden content on your computer. If you are afraid that experienced users could start searching your computer for your private files, then we recommend that you use one of our other programs, Folder Hider or File Hider. The program MapHider has two states, movable and locked. If you see the top bar with the name MapHider, then the program is in its movable state. In this state, the MapHider icon is also displayed on the taskbar. I can move the screen and send the application to the taskbar. I click on the icon on the taskbar and it's back again. But what if you do not want MapHider to have an icon in the taskbar when MapHider is running? In that case, you press this square. You will see that the top bar of the program is removed and also the icon in the taskbar is gone. In this state, you can no longer move the program around. It stays fixed. When you close MapHider and at some point start MapHider, you will notice that it starts up in the state it was at the position it was when you last closed the program. When you leave your computer unattended, you might decide to use this option to more or less hide the running application. And although we created the micromize option for this, you more or less hide the application from sight. But you might run into a problem, and therefore we show you here how to overcome that problem. So MapHider is still in the non-movable state. If we press the square again, then MapHider is set to its movable state. And I can move the program all the way to the left, so that only the right side, where the square is visible. I click on the square and I place another screen on top. Nobody can see that I'm working with MapHider while I go and get myself a refreshment. I'm back and I remove the screen that is on top. And now I have a problem. I can only access the close button. I close the application and start it up again. Well, that didn't help, because it remembers the state and the position. I still have the same problem. Should you encounter this problem, press the close button with the right mouse button. You will see that MapHider changes its state. And I can now again drag the screen and use the program. This concludes our video of MapHider. We hope you found it useful.